Hey prayer team, hey connections team, Ramin here. This is our Thursday check-in. I'm outside again, taking a walk in the missionary garden. It's a little cooler today than it was last week. Last week I broke a sweat talking. This week I got the collar turned up on my jacket. Hopefully y'all are enjoying this crisp. It's winter, but feels like fall weather. I wanted to follow up on some stuff we talked about last week, about this season of breakthrough, about what it means to cultivate hope, and share a little bit about that. It can sound, talking about hope can sound like an easy, fluffy, feel-good message. But hope is a lot more powerful than that. And I just want to say, speaking from a personal perspective, over the last 3 weeks, some really difficult things have happened personally in my own immediate family's life. This last week, something really serious happened in my extended family's life, like life-changing things. So hope is at its most powerful when you are working through difficulties. The children of Israel were called into account because when they served God, they didn't serve him with gladness. They served him with murmuring and complaining. So there is a personal responsibility in taking the right attitude and the right perspective in addressing these challenges. And I know that that's true for each and every person watching this video. There are things that maybe you don't have regular conversations with folks at church about, but that are tough and that are heavy. Hope has a place there too. I think hope is at its most powerful, and it's really hope when we're engaging these difficult things and accessing hope that God has given us to deal with them. I'm going to walk over this way and sit down as I talk. So, in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter, at the very end of it, in verse 13, Paul starts talking about, everything on this earth is going to pass away. It's not going to last, but there are three things that will remain, three things that will be eternal and infinite. And if you remember what he says, it's their faith, hope, and love. And he says the greatest of these is love. I think that's interesting. Your faith and your hope and your love will remain. They're permanent, and you're experiencing these things will be permanent. So let's imagine, he says the greatest is love. It sounds like he's naming them in order of importance, and hope is right there in the middle. I think love is the most important because, as John tells us, 1 John, God is love. And it's in fact understanding his love that allows us to hope. I remember in second grade, I forgot to hand in a permission slip to my dad. Hopefully that video doesn't cut off. I just got a message on my phone. I forgot to hand in a permission slip to my parents to go on the class field trip, and it was the day of the field trip. We were walking to the park or something. My dad worked full time. He was a teacher, and the teacher was like, "Hey, we can get a call into your dad to see if he can come by and do it, but it's a long shot. We know that parents work." But I had this conviction, like a hope. I was like, "Oh, my dad, he loves me. He'll be here. He'll sign that permission slip. I'll go on this trip." And sure enough, he figured out a way to take. And he worked in a city that was a little bit far from where I went to school, actually. So he had to commute to get there. I had to commute to get to. So it was some effort, but he did it. I was so convicted of my natural earthly father's love for me, that my hope was in the fact that he was going to come and be able to do that. And I had faith that it would happen. That's faith, hope, and love working the way that it works. A little bit of a simplified metaphor, but that's the way it works. Can you trust God's love for you enough to be able to imagine a better outcome and another side to what you're experiencing? And even if I continue to experience these things, my internal experience can change. The love, joy, and peace, the things that the kingdom are made of, I can still experience these things even if my surrounding circumstances don't change. That's another level of hope. Can you do that? Have you ever practiced changing your mind and thinking of a good outcome? So first you got to be convinced of God's love for you, that he wants to give you good things, that his promises are real and true, right? Then you can start engaging what I called last week your sanctified imagination. And then you can put your faith in these things because they're from God. So faith, hope, and love, those three things are inseparable. They work together. I believe that's why Paul mentioned them together. If you're going through something difficult, I would lean into these, okay? Again, when sometimes you hear somebody tell you to look towards hope or have faith, it's like, well, Ramin, you don't know what I'm going through. Trust me, I'm going through some challenging things right now too. Also, Jesus himself was a man who said he was acquainted, the Bible says he was acquainted with sorrows. And the Bible also says that he bore our griefs when he was on the cross. So he understands it, he sees it, and I don't think he bore those things in vain. He bore those things so that he could exchange joy for mourning with you, okay? Ultimately in your salvation, but I do think this has implications for us in our circumstances today. With that said, it should be a regular week this Sunday at both Connection Central and for the prayer team. And it seems like after Christmas, there are a lot of people who are choosing to pursue discipleship with Oak Hills. We've had a lot of people coming through. So I'm encouraged about that. Hopefully you all are too. And I can't wait to see you. Oh, prayer team, you all have received an invitation to the 29th, which is going to be our next meeting. I'm trying to locate a date early in February for us, Connections team. I'm looking at the 5th. That evening is the missionary banquet, which I need to be at. So the afternoon, right after service should work. I'm going to solidify that date later today, maybe on Monday, and get an email out to you, Connections team, because I want to connect and talk about what's going on this year here at Oak Hills, okay? So that's it. I'm already at 6.5 minutes. That's longer than I like to go. Blessings to you. Can't wait to see you Sunday. Bye.